gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Board Game Captain.
I'm Lynn.
And today we're going to be talking about the new Alien role-playing game cinematic starter kit and the one-off cinematic game that comes with it called Chariots of the Gods. We got to...
By Free League.
By Free League Publishing. Thank you. Yes. So, Free League Publishing sent us a free PDF of this cinematic starter kit, as well as, of course, Chariots of the Gods, and we finally got to play it the other day. So now, so the cinematic starter kit is something that you will get for free if you pre-order the Alien role-playing game. So that's the thing. They're giving it away for free, and what is in it? So that's first. We're going to talk about what comes in the cinematic starter kit. What is it like? We're going to try to keep it fairly spoiler light, but we are going to give you a warning before we start talking about the game itself, about the Chariots of the Gods. So that's going to be next, and we will give you a warning to jump ahead, and we'll give you a time code.
Is it Chariot singular?
No, Chariots.
It's okay.
I think it's Chariots. I'll have to take a look again. Is it Chariot or Chariots? Chariot of the Gods. It is single Chariot, yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the game is called Chariot of the Gods. The whole PDF is called the Alien Role-Playing Game Cinematic Starter Kit. So we're going to, like I said, we're going to talk about what comes in the cinematic starter kit. Then we're going to talk about how this basically gives you a preview of what the Alien role-playing game is going to be like, and therefore what that is, what it's like. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the Chariot of the Gods, and we're going to warn you to jump ahead to a certain timestamp if you want to miss any spoilers, but we are going to keep it spoiler light. We don't want to ruin any of the story, like the big story points for you, but we will be talking some general bits about what kind of monsters you're going to fight and the general concept, at least at the beginning point of the story. So if you want to miss that, we will give you a warning when to jump ahead. And then we're going to talk about, rate, and review the game, the actual Chariot of the Gods, as a product, and whether we think, if you're kind of thinking about maybe I'll get the Alien role-playing game, maybe I'm not, should this push you over the edge into pre-ordering it? Should this make you pre-order the game just to get the cinematic starter kit and Chariot of the Gods? So that's going to be at the end. So you know, if you want to miss the spoilers but still find out about that, we're going to give you a time code to do that. Mm-hmm. So first off, what comes in the cinematic starter kit? Now, it's a PDF, and it is 168 pages. There's a lot of illustrations in there, so it actually, you read through it faster than you would think. But basically, because the thing is, this is coming out before the actual role-playing game, it gives most of the basic rules. Now, you don't have the rules in here for character creation, because it comes with a bunch of pre-generated characters, so you don't need to make your own. You don't have the rules in here for campaign play, if you want to make a big campaign, because it's really just to play this one-off cinematic game that's meant to be done as like a party one-off role-playing game. Mm-hmm. So you don't have any of that, but you have talk about the universe. You have basic rules on how to do skill rolls, how to do combat, how the characters work, how a cinematic game goes down, and then you, of course, have the entirety of the one-off cinematic game yourself. So the way it's broken up is, first you have Space is Hell, which gives you a lot of background on the universe, which is like the first 21 pages. Then you've got stuff on how to play characters, and including, you know, their own personal agendas that you're going to get, and their attributes and their skills and their health and stress, which is a big part of the game. That's up to page 29. Then you've got a big section on skills, followed by a big section on combat and panic, which is huge. Then you have a section on gear, and then you have the final section, which is the Chariot of the Gods in here. This is a really beautiful PDF with lots of nice illustrations. I might be throwing up some of the illustrations to show you guys on the screen while we're talking about this. Really, really, like, artistically beautiful PDF. Love the look of it. Very well put together. And I mean, I'm doing a little bit of a spoiler here, but I mean, very well thought out and just very well edited as well. So why don't we talk a little bit about the Alien role-playing game and the kind of preview to the basic structure of how it works that we've gotten. So what are some of the big points here? It's a D6 system. Mm-hmm. Okay. What are some standouts to you?
What do you mean by standouts?
Well, you were going to say.
I was going to say similar to the Forbidden Lands, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Because it's the same people.
Yeah, and it definitely has similarities, but it's not the same system.
No, I think that this system works better, or at least the stress with the stress dice seems to fit better with this.
Oh, it's very thematic for a horror game.
Like, I don't think they weren't called stress dice.
No, you didn't have stress dice in the other one.
But there were the ones where
you could roll ones.
If you rolled ones and then they were bad and you wanted to get rid of them.
Yeah, but that was your skill dice. In this, the skill dice don't have that.
Okay. Yeah,
so,
that
it was a bit different.
That didn't really.
Oh, not the skill dice. It was the attribute dice that you were bad things. Yeah, because you could hurt your attribute.
Yeah, that didn't. I don't know. That didn't really feel.
Well, you don't have any attribute damage in this. So we're beating around the bush. Let's talk about the system.
Okay.
All right. So here's the deal. So the basic system, the basic way it works, combat and skill rolls and such are very similar to Forbidden Lands. So what you do is you get your character sheet. I'm going to pull out a character sheet here. Now on the character sheet, you have your main attributes, which are agility, strength, wits, and empathy. And then very nicely formatted on the character sheet, next to each of these attributes, they have their linked skills. So for instance, the strength skills are heavy machinery, close combat, and stamina. And that is so easy to see. So you're like, well, okay, I want to do a heavy machinery roll. Well, that's strength based. So I have a 4 in strength, which means, okay, I get 4 attributes dice for my strength. And I have a 1 in heavy machinery. So, okay, I get one skill dice for heavy machinery. That is just standard dice, just gets added to the dice I've already got. Now, then, if you have a current level of stress, you take a number of stress dice, and those must be a specific color of dice. So let me just grab some dice from over here. So I'm going to use, because they'll stand out nice on camera, I'm going to use these beige skull dice I have here as the stress dice. So let's say we're currently at a stress level of 3, and we're about to make that heavy machinery roll. I take 3 of these dice, and I add them to it. All the other dice don't matter in regard to what color they are, but you need a specific color to stand out for your stress dice. And then what you do is you make your roll, and what you're looking for is 6s. On a standard difficulty, you just need 1 6. And if you have extra 6s, there are extra cool things you get to do, which actually was something that was kind of an addition to this, that they didn't have in Forbidden Lands. In Forbidden Lands, with attacks, you could do extra damage. But this, they give you lots of options. Like okay, so you're doing heavy machinery to fix deck plating. One of the things you could do with extra 6s is fix it in half the time. One of the things you could do is, when fixing deck plating in the future, you could always automatically pass, because now you've learned how to do that really well, and you don't need to roll for it anymore. And those things were really cool. Like everybody had a lot of fun picking up those little mini special abilities by rolling extra 6s, which was really neat. So you roll them, and now any 6s, regardless of which dice they're on, are successes. The only difference between the stress dice and the regular dice is if the stress dice, if you roll any 1s on the stress dice, you have to check for panic. So like if I roll these and I'm like, okay, what do I got here? Okay, I rolled no 1s on the stress dice, so I'm good there. And I rolled 1 6 here under a normal difficulty, that would be a success. Whatever I was doing with the heavy machinery, boom, I got it. Nothing extra, nothing bad. But if I rolled extra 6s, like if this was a 6 also, then I might start to get some extra cool stuff happening, possibly. I could say, well, I do it in half the time. But if I rolled a 1, I need to roll on the panic table. And the way you do that is you roll a die, you add your current level of stress. So if I had 3 stress, like I was doing in this example here, I roll a die, I got a 3, I add 3 to it, and I check the panic table and see what happens. And that would be a 6, which actually is you still keep it together, you're still able to do what you're doing, you're freaking out inside a little bit, but you're okay. But as your stress level raises, it really starts to get to the point where you start to panic. There are times where you can literally freak out and lose your cool. There are times where you can freeze like a deer in the headlights. There are times where you could just do what you were supposed to be doing, but you drop a piece of random equipment and not even notice. And all these things, interesting things can happen that for a horror game really felt thematic. So yeah, that's a basic of the system. And in regard to combat, you do a random deal like in Forbidden Lands for initiative, and the initiative cards, which we use the initiative cards we had from Forbidden Lands, you can turn them one way to say, and they're going to have some ones coming out for Alien.
Okay.
But you turn them one way to show that you've used your slow action, which is something like attacking somebody, or the other way to show you've used your fast action, which is something like drawing a weapon or running, and completely around to show you've used both, and you can use the fast action, you can save it to try to parry if something's trying to attack you. And that's kind of the gist of how the game system works. Did I miss anything important?
I don't think so.
Okay, so now, you were talking a little bit about, before I jumped into just explaining the game system, you were talking about that you thought it felt really cool for the kind of theme that the game it was.
Yeah, I thought the stress dice worked with the theme really well.
Because it's a horror movie game.
Yeah.
It felt like... now, I was game mastering. I wasn't playing, obviously. But it felt to me like a slow build-up, like a snowball. It was snowballing, like downhill, building up, picking up snow. And in regard to, like, early on, you're like, okay, I'm getting a little stressed. Ooh, it's helping me. It's not so bad. I don't mind having a stress die or two. But then, like, once you got, like, your fourth or fifth one and you started panicking when you were trying to make rolls, that's when you guys started to be like, oh, God, this is we really need to find a safe space and rest for a little bit so we can bring the stress down. I thought the system was, the streamlining of the system and also the streamlining of the character sheets, so you could so easily see what you need to roll.
Yeah, because most of the time it's just like in a column, right? And it's all like mishmash together.
For most role-playing games, yeah.
And it's just like you always constantly looking, and then half the time you forget to add something to it because it's in a completely different area.
But these are amazingly well put together. These, I mean, weren't these so easy? I thought they were really easy to use. So, but you agree with that?
Yeah.
And then, so this was this was very cool. This was very easy to use. In regard to figuring out what you need to roll, you just look at your sheet, like, boom, I need to roll. Like I think this was your character sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was your first character. So you were really good at Comtech. You had a 4 in wits, a 3 in Comtech, which means that we went 4, 5, 6, 7. You had 7 dice base, 7 dice just for rolling Comtech, plus if you had a special equipment or if you had a stress dice, you would then get even more dice. And so, like, you were passing a lot of those until you started getting really panicky, and there was that bit where you, like, dropped one of your pieces of equipment while you were trying to hack a computer. There was another bit where you froze for a little bit because you just started freaking out and you didn't know what to do. And that really added to the whole horror theme element, because that's, like, what starts to happen when stress gets high. So, is there anything else we should talk about in regard to our bit of preview of how the Alien role-playing game system is going to work? Anything else that stood out to you that you think?
No. Okay,
so now I think we're going to jump into, from the actual system of how these work, we're going to jump into the Chariot of the Gods. And again, we're going to try to keep it fairly spoiler light, but we are going to talk about what kind of creatures you face and at least what the basic setup is. So I'm going to put up on the screen here the time stamp to jump to if you want to miss any spoilers. So if you're going to be a game master, feel free to watch all this, because you're going to have to read about it before you game master it anyway. But if you're going to be a player in this and you want to miss any spoilers whatsoever, even the minor ones we're going to have here, feel free to jump to this time code and skip them. So I'm going to give it a second so you can do that. If you're still here, you don't mind. Okay, so Chariot of the Gods starts out in very much the same way as Alien, the first movie. You're on a cargo ship. You guys wake up. You realize you're not where you're supposed to be, and it's because because Mother picked up a distress call from a derelict spacecraft. I'm sure this is sounding familiar to most people out there. But it also felt like there were some influences from other sci-fi horror movies too. Like I kind of got a little bit of a vibe from like Event Horizon, because the derelict spacecraft was an old human experimental scientific vessel that had been lost a long time ago, so I got a little bit of a vibe from that. But then also there was a lot of influence, so it wasn't a standard xenomorph you're fighting. This is part of the minor spoilers talking about what monsters you face. The monsters you fought were creatures from the prequel Alien movies. So they had neomorphs, which were the monsters, the bloodbursters that first came out in Alien Covenant when the people got the spores in them. There were the spores. And there were also the abominations, which were like that mutant dude in Prometheus, the guy who got the acid sprayed through his face mask and later showed up outside the ship and he was like mutating and all bestial. They had those happen. Not going to give away when those happen, how those happen, but it wasn't using the classic xenomorph in this game. It was using neomorphs, bloodbursters, and abominations. Now, I understand the need for them to use stuff from various movies, because if you just use the classic xenomorphs, you would have maybe 3 monsters in the whole book. You'd have xenomorphs, Royal Guard, and maybe the Queen, and that would be like it. So they needed to vary it up a little bit to have a few more other things in there. I wasn't as huge a fan of the prequels as I was the classic Alien series, like the original couple of Alien movies. But I thought for a game perspective, this worked really, really well. I thought the monsters were really freaky, and even though you were using the neomorph, I mean, the neomorph when you guys first fought a full-grown neomorph, correct me if I'm wrong, it felt like still facing a giant alien monster. I mean, it was 7 feet tall, and it was.
Yeah, I didn't actually realize that they were ones from the newer movies, but I mean, I've seen like the movies like once, so
yeah. I mean, you're just playing.
It's not that surprising that I didn't realize.
Oh, okay. But I mean, and I mean, you're playing theater of the mind, and I tell you, this 7-foot monster with a spiked tail comes out. I mean, you're thinking of what the aliens look like anyway, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the big difference is it didn't have acid for blood. I think it was really just about it. But otherwise, it was a big, ferocious monster. And when it came chasing you guys down the corridor and you guys were firing the flamethrower after it, and it came up and it attacked one of the crewmates and hit it with the spike tail, I mean, yeah, it felt the same. And I thought the game, without giving too much away, because again, I don't want to give away too much in regard to spoilers, even though anyone who wanted to miss spoilers would have skipped ahead. I really liked the pacing of the game. Like, every time you guys got a second to breathe, suddenly the shit hit the fan again. And you're like, oh God, what do we do?
You said a bad word.
It's okay. I'll bleep it. But, I mean, what did you think about the pacing and the building of the panic and such in that regard?
I'm just waiting for you to knock that glass of juice over.
I'm not going to knock it over.
You've come so close.
Well, what did you think? Back on topic here.
I thought the pacing was fine. It started off, it was the first part, we had a couple of spots where we could, take a couple of minutes and get rid of stress dies, and then we got to the second part and we were like, we need to take a rest, and you're like, it's not safe, you can't rest, and we're like, no, we need to rest.
And I really felt like you guys started laughing with it, but really also freaking out and like, oh my God, we gotta hurry.
It was stressful,
but in a good way, right? Like,
yeah.
It felt like I really thought it really felt like a horror movie. Like, watching it as the game master, I felt like I was directing a horror movie. Like, I was engrossed. I was excited. I found myself standing up to describe the situations. You guys seemed like you were getting really into it. So, yeah, I would definitely say it was really cool. All right. So, do you have with keeping the big event spoiler free? Was there anything else you wanted to talk about Chariot of the Gods?
No.
Okay, then I think we can jump into our review portion here, right? So now we're gonna. So first, now your review is gonna be based on being a player in Chariot of the Gods, and did you think this was a really good game? My review is gonna be both based on being a game master for Chariot of the Gods, as well as the PDF itself, and was it a great starting off point? And then we're gonna talk about, in addition to reviewing and rating the game, and also both our perspectives, you being a player, me being a game master, of the actual game system, which we've already talked about, that we both thought was incredibly thematic. We're going to talk about, if you are on the fence, and if you don't know if you want to pre-order the Alien RPG, should this push you over the edge? Should this make you pre-order it? So, do you want to go first? So do you have any big things you want to talk about, negatives and positives about the game and the game system?
Well, I think a positive I want to mention is the actual dice rolling system. Is that it's super easy to play. Basically, we played with someone who had played previously just one RPG game, just one single game.
not one system, one actual session.
Just one actual session, like years ago at a birthday party.
Right.
And she picked it up right away.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
yeah, she didn't even really ask any questions.
No.
I gave her like a 5-minute intro of like, this is how you play, and she was like, okay, got it, and it was good. And like you say, by no means is she like a huge gamer. She plays occasional games, and she was fine. I think this works. It yet to be seen on how this is going to work as a campaign system. But for cinematic one-offs, to play one-off horror games at a party or at a convention, this is amazing. Like, this is so thematic. It's so easy to just pick up and play. I was blown away. I think this the changes from which I did, by the way, I really, really liked Forbidden Lands. But the changes from Forbidden Lands to this are 100% about, one, streamlining it and making it more user-friendly, and two, making it much more thematic for a horror movie. The whole stress die thing and the way that slowly snowballs and builds up, the tension. Oh my God, it was great.
It makes sense. Unlike, I don't think it really made much sense in Forbidden Lands. Like, you would randomly roll a 1 and then just bad things would happen.
Well, it was different.
Just didn't make sense.
Well, it was different. So in Forbidden Lands, you took attribute damage. So the one would be like you tripped and hurt yourself. You hit the person, but you pulled a muscle and you took a damage in your strength, things like that. But in this, you just literally have health. It's simpler. There's no attribute damage. You take damage to your health. Your health is based on your strength stat, but but taking damage to health doesn't reduce your strength. So it's much smoother. It's much easier. And this is definitely a much easier system to learn, which you did say. You said that. So I don't have any downsides I want to say about this. I am curious to see how the campaign system is going to work because the rules are quite simple and light in this. It might be interesting to see how they make it work for a long-term campaign, for using a long-term character, gaining experience and whatnot. But for one-off games, I think it's phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. Maybe we should get into rating it and then deciding how we're going to recommend it. Do you want to go first or second on the rating?
I'll go first.
Okay, so where are you at with this? Now, which I don't know. I do not know. We haven't talked about what our rating's going to be. So this is 100% going to be a surprise for both of us.
Okay.
What are you going to rate it?
I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay, so that's really, really high. Okay, so what goes into your decision to give it an 8?
Well, it was fun to play. It was thematic. It was easy to remember what dice to roll and all that because, I mean, it was just, 6-sided dice.
And very easy to see because 6s are successes. Very, very, very easy system. Very good for one-offs. Very easy to teach. So I'm thoroughly agreeing with you. Great game for one-offs at conventions. Great games for one-offs at like parties. We like to do one-off role-playing games at like birthday parties and holiday parties sometimes. And this is a great one for that. I absolutely cannot wait. In fact, I am more excited. I was super excited when I first heard they were doing an Alien role-playing game. And that Free League, who does great work, was doing the Alien role-playing game. I was really excited. After they sent me this, I am even more excited. I am ramped up in excitement. I was tempted. I was very, very tempted to give this 10 out of 10 stars. That's how excited I am. I'm going to pull back just a smidge and give it a 9.5, which is super high. And the only reason I'm pulling back just a smidge is literally just a few issues I had with some of the structuring in the PDF. There were a couple things that were a little difficult to find, but I mean, that's literally half a point away from perfect. So that's super high. This PDF is fantastic. It is a great teaser for the role-playing game to come. It has has whet my palate. I think that's the term you should use. It has whet my palate for the feast to come. Very excited. And again, my minor issues with it are only, I think, two things. One, there were just a couple of rules that were a little difficult to find in here. Minor issue, very minor issue. And as it's a PDF, they can update that and fix it later. The other issue was I would have liked the first off scenario to use the classic aliens. But again, that's a very minor issue, and that's not even really, I mean, it's such a minor gripe. I don't even know if it's worth talking too much about. But 9.5 is an amazingly high score. Like I say, it is half a point away from perfect, because I loved reading this. I shot through it in like a day and a half, reading the 168 pages, because it was actually quite enjoyable to read. The artwork is gorgeous in the PDF. The character sheets are incredibly intelligently designed and so user friendly. The game is so thematic. I love the stress system. So yeah, I'm gaga over this. I cannot wait for the actual role-playing game to be in my hands. I cannot wait to try this. This is going to be so much fun. So now the big question. If you out there are teetering on the edge about, should I get the Alien role-playing game? Should I not? Should getting this PDF for free for pre-ordering it before I even have a chance to look at it, should that push me over the edge? Should that make me pre-order the Alien role-playing game? Yes or no? What do you think?
I would say yes. As long as it sounds like something you'd be interested in, you pre-order it, and then you can actually try it out before you even have the full item.
I am also yes. Obviously, giving it a 9.5, I am obviously also yes. This is amazing. If the Alien role-playing game was just meant to be one-off cinematic games like this, I would still say yes. But then there's also going to be, they're going to work in a campaign system where you can go around the universe and explore planets and explore ancient ruins from ancient civilizations.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
That's always bad.
That is how you die. But I mean, that's all going to be in there.
Right.
And I mean, that's going to be part of being able to have long reoccurring characters and multiple adventures. I'm guessing that if you do that, you're probably going to play more characters like the Marines from the second movie, so you can actually kill lots of aliens versus just dying all the time. Right. Even though most of them died too. But you get what I mean. I think because the scenario we were playing in, nobody was military. You were more like civilians, more like civilians. So there you have it. So that's 2 thumbs way up. We definitely recommend, if you're on the fence, pre-order the Alien role-playing game. It is super cool. I am amazingly excited for it. You are quite excited for it. 8 and a 9.5 respectively, really high scores. Let us know what you think. Are you guys excited for the Alien role-playing game? I'm planning on doing hopefully more content on it when the Alien role-playing game comes out, because yeah, I want to play it more and I want to read the whole book, and I'm very excited for it. This game was tons of fun. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. And if you'd like to see us do more role-playing game content like this, be sure to give this video a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.